One of the questions I got was actually fantastic. It was about why the machine should count. And in my hypothetical, it wasn't very clear that I meant that Microsoft orders the chips and then Microsoft themselves assembles these new computers, right? The idea was that Microsoft orders the chips in Microsoft's factory. This is where they catch on fire and this is where stuff goes wrong. But yes, we basically walked through. The chips were not conforming. They caught fire. Okay, fine. What was the consequence of that fire? It was that the assembly line in the factory was destroyed. Is that a foreseeable consequence? Yeah, it's not a wild thing to imagine. Therefore, the assembly machine is covered. Profits. The same thing when you sell somebody chips, and it's not unnatural that they might that the delay in launch may cause some additional losses, right, such as during the holiday season. So that is the straightforward example, more or less. Like you have to pay for any losses which you caused. There is one exception, or rather one extra rule to take into account there, and that is the rule which says that you have a duty to mitigate the damage. What does that mean? If you are in a situation where the other party's breach of contract starts causing you some damage, you can't just do nothing. You have a duty to try to stop that damage.
So my question is regarding the loss of profit and overall.
Right.
How companies prove that they lost the actual profit? And in addition to that, you mentioned losing reputation, losing customers.
Right.
I understand the whole concept of it. You are losing money. But how do you prove that I've lost this much? Even the main question is the reputation. How do you value it?
How do you actually prove it in practice? So the question was loss of profits and stuff. How do you prove that in practice? Very difficult. The main kind of problem ends up being, say here, with missing the Christmas thing. How do you prove that they didn't sell because they were late and instead didn't sell because they were just bad products? One side is going to argue one thing, the other one is going to argue the other. They're going to get the experts to try to show this was because of that. Look at the similar market products. In the end, it's just going to be, it can all either way, basically. Sometimes the evidence will be clear, and you would say, like, we had the same type of launch without delay in another country. It's just a matter of evidence. Reputational loss is also a great question. How do you measure a loss of reputation? It ends up being more or less, I'm not going to say random, but more or less like compared with the other participants in the market statistically, blah, blah, but there is no like very clear methodology. You can also think in private disputes aside from the commercial stuff, like when people sue for loss of reputation or for like emotional damage, like if today read something horrible about me online and I read it and like I can't sleep for 5 nights. Like, how do I prove that it was because of what you wrote them up because my boss was unreasonable today? So honestly, no good answer there. We try to prove. But a very, very, very good question. Anything more? So the main rule here was, you hurt me in some way by breaching the contract. Fine. I can't just let stuff burn to the ground. I can't just stand back and do nothing. I have to try to stop this damage from taking place. If I don't, the other party can ask for the damage to be the sum to be reduced. So, in this example, we have Microsoft, which has 1 million machine. However, they don't contain the fire, and the entire factory burns, causing a total loss of 10. Can they recover 11, or can they recover only 1? In this scenario, the answer would clearly be no. They have a duty to try reasonably to mitigate what is there, not to like throw their employees like with their body weight stop the fire, but to try to do what a reasonable person would. So that is the main idea there. Even if you suffer some damage, you have to try to stop it from becoming too much. So that's our main rule of damages. We ask a couple of questions. The first question, actually I'm going back to illustrating, and I hope that that is fine. Once again, I will share the updated notes, but I just think it's more memorable if I do it while we're here. So let's put it like this. I order plants. You deliver. Now, what are they called? The carnivorous, or however you pronounce that? I'm going to say flesh-eating plants. Is there a breach? Yes. Why is there a breach? Well, I'm guessing the contract is silent, likely. The contract does not name it. Please not be flesh-eating pet. But they are, let's say, not fit for general use. Or a reasonable person would not think that the plants would be like that. Fine. Did they become flesh-eating, passage of risk? Let's just leave that aside. What was the consequence? First one was I could not sell them. And that is clearly going to, so what was the consequence? I could not sell them. Maybe I lost some profits for normal plants. So that would be the basic loss in a way. Say that I did also not warn my employees not to go into the storage room lest they be eaten. One of them is shocked, drops another set of expensive plants. I should have warned, I should have tried to prevent further damage. So I couldn't sell them, I lost profits. That's kind of basic. I can recover that. I should have tried to prevent damage. If some got destroyed because my employee was carrying other plants, saw the flesh-eating ones and dropped them, obviously that is not covered because I should have done something to warn that person to mitigate the damage of having bloody plants like that. Say that I also had another type of loss. I also lost, what did I maybe lose that's not entirely predictable? I lost. I'm going horrific and thinking I lost my cat, but I'm not going there also because that would be foreseeable. I had something unforeseeable. What can you lose when you get a plant that is not really foreseeable? I also lost my car because the plant, I have no idea, did something to it. Something unreasonable. Here I'm just going with, was this kind of loss foreseeable or was it not? But the main rule for you, I ordered plants, they were not in line with the contract. I lost some money because I couldn't sell the bloody plant to anyone. Okay, that I can recover. But I didn't warn my employees that this was another type of loss. I lost some other plants because I didn't tell anybody, don't go in there. I could have done something. Are we fine on this? That's the general framework. Just work through it in your head. 1, was there a breach? 2, was there some consequence that the person would reasonably expect? And then 3, could I have done something to prevent this? So that is just the structure to remember. Now, that is moving fast. But I want us to kind of go through this framework today. I will show you what kind of videos I've shared just so that you can look at them at home, because I want us to use a few classes in the future just to be able to directly practice more. But that was the general rule. You take the amount of how much you hurt, you substitute anything that you didn't mitigate. There is now an exception. There is something, or rather another rule, there is something called impediment beyond control, or force majeure, or higher force, or however it may be referred to. You do not have to pay for the damages which were caused by something that you couldn't control. It applies to damages, it does not apply to the part of the goods. What does this mean? If there was some kind of an event, which happened unexpectedly, or which you could not control in any way, there is a flood, there is a war, there is a pandemic. If you can show that there was nothing you could have done, you could not expect it, you could not remove its consequences, that is going to reduce the amount of damages that you have to pay. So, sudden, unexpected events beyond your control, which you cannot expect, are going to reduce your liability for damages. You'll find that in 79. So we have Intel with chips. There is a storm, the ship sinks, and the delivery of chips is delayed. Microsoft loses the profits. Must Intel pay for the profits? In this case, it would be clear that the answer is no. Why? Because there is a sudden storm, the ship sunk, there is nothing Intel could have done. So Microsoft did lose some money, but that lost amount of profits is not to be covered by Intel because they suffered an impediment beyond control, because there was something outside of their control. What if there is a severe storm warning 2 days before? We would then look into the provision which says if they could have reasonably overcome the consequences or removed it. If there was a severe storm warning, they would likely have to cover the profits, once again because the profits themselves are part of the damages, and they have this duty to try to prevent things from going wrong. What if the chips could have been saved? Well, it depends on how they would be saved, right? Because here we have the reasonableness standard again. So if they could have been saved at the sea in some way, well, let's assume that Intel's people are sailing the ship. If they could be rescued safely, if they could be dried and stored, and whatever is done with them while they were on the ship or off the ship, then obviously that amount would have to be, Intel would have the duty to try to do so. Obviously not to throw people into the ocean to try to swim for the chips, but the idea is they should do their best, basically, to try to mitigate, to try to overcome whatever happened. Only if one crew member jumped overboard, obviously we're not going to take it that far. So yes, the party which is in law, which has suffered an impediment beyond control, does not have to pay for damages, but does still have to try to reasonably prevent things from going wrong both before and after. Let me try to sum these up here once again, and then I'm going to just re-upload it for you on its learning. So what was the consequence? I couldn't sell them, I didn't want my employees, this is fine, this is just the basic damages, right? Now, here is what we said about impediment. We have a situation like this. I did failed to deliver, but because of something that I didn't expect. For example, let's say that what I didn't expect or control was a fire. All the plants catch fire. The question is going to be, did I... So here we just, let's say, have a normal plant, so we're selling flowers, whatever. The question is going to be, did I, should I have expected this to happen? Could I have overcome it? Could I have overcome its consequences? So basically, we are saying, yes, things happened unexpectedly. If things happened unexpectedly, you do not have to pay for that part of the damage. To put it all in a unified scenario, let me think. Say that I order 500 cars. That is fine. The cars are too slow. Here I lose profits. Here it's very, very clear, right? They were too slow. Risk doesn't matter. Like they didn't get too slow on a plane or something. They didn't get too slow after shipping. My loss of profits is caused, is kind of expected. Like this can happen if you deliver bad cars. So my loss of profits is foreseeable. So therefore, you have to pay for my lost profits. That's our basic scenario, right? In that scenario, there is nothing kind of too complicated. I lost profits because the cars are too slow. Fine. But let's assume another scenario. Let's say that you lost profits because you declined to market the cars at all, or honestly did anything unreasonable. We would reduce that amount. I'm guessing here it would be high, decline to market cars at all. Or did anything unreasonable, we would reduce the amount of damage the buyer would mitigate. As for force majeure, amount of damage is also reduced if the damage is due to unexpected event, like there is a fire which burns cars and causes them to be destroyed, which is like that. If you couldn't control that fire, if you couldn't anticipate it, that would be, that amount would be reduced. I want to do something super embarrassing every single bloody year. I struggle with this one and I never want to remove it. because it is my one open way of showing the scope of my stupidity and how little I can calculate. Here is a case where I want to ask you to calculate the amount of damages which can be recovered. I'm not going to ask you to calculate on the exam, I wouldn't be able to grade. But if you take a couple of minutes, then we can try to do it together. In the meantime, I'll just update the balance line. Just wait like 5 minutes. Now, do I hear a number from anyone? I'm ready to take any number, honestly. I'm desperate here.
2,000?
2,000? Okay, noted. Any other numbers we should work towards? 1,000? 2,000 or 1,000? Anything more? Any other numbers? I'd like to be noted. Okay, so it's 1,000 or 2,000. Let's think it through. So damages covers any loss which is caused by a breach of contract, and that loss can be material, immaterial. It can be a loss of reputation, of goods, whatever. So we have 1% of the infected bananas. So that is clear that 1% of bananas were infected, I assume, before delivery, right? %50 were lost due to inaction. And then we have 1 NOK of profit per banana, which is you're selling bananas at double the price, I suppose. So the way that I'm thinking / reasoning around this would be, we have to separate the question of price for goods, or like a contract, so price for goods, from the question of damages. You should always do this in your head, like 1% infected caused some damage, right? Damages is the harm you have suffered as a consequence of a breach of contract. So they breached the contract by delivering infected bananas. There are 2 consequences here. One is that 50% were lost. The other one was that we had a loss of profits. So the question becomes, should we cover 50,000? And the answer is no, because they should have separated, right? So 50% of bananas lost is kind of a consequence, but it is a consequence which they failed to mitigate. So we're not going to count that, right? So we kind of subtract, or we just exclude. We're not going to count that. As per profit, we need to know what our starting kind of number is for the calculation of profit, or for how many bananas. 1% of 100,000 is 1,000, of course. So for 1,000 bananas, you have lost 1 crown per banana in profit. So loss of profits would be for 1,000 crowns, right? Wait. Yeah, if you lost it for 1%, yes. So 1 per banana, 1 per OG banana, right? 1 per banana that was infected when it arrived. And for the bananas which got infected afterwards, we're not going to put it here because they should have inspected and separated and stuff. So 1 per OJ banana in profit. Now, of course, you can have the question of, do they have to pay something back? They paid 100,000 for 100,000 bananas, which were delivered, but 1% of that, which would be 1,000, is not in conformity because it's infected. Basically, they would have to also pay them back for the bananas. I paid for healthy bananas, I got infected once. So for goods themselves, I didn't get 1,000 good bananas. 1,000 were bad. So for goods themselves, they would have to pay me back for this 1%, which was non-conforming, and then for that same 1%, I also lost profits, which were 1 per 1 banana, meaning that it comes down to 2,000. I think I've managed to confuse myself. There is certainly an easier way to explain this. Can anybody explain this in an easier way, please? You ordered 99 bananas, you ordered 100, one of them was bad. For that bad one, you get the money back, and you get the money for any loss which you suffered and which you could have which you couldn't prevent. Does that make sense? It's a lot of stuff. I can try putting this down back again in the document, or I can do that. You know what? I will actually show you the video file I'll share with you on this. But you get the basic framework. I really, and we will practice, and I will share some specific writing practice with you today, but I want you to separate between the two. The question of profits and loss and stuff like that is separate from the question of, but how much did you pay for the goods themselves? And that's hopefully going to help you.
Question regarding the delivery cost here as well. So, for example, the price for bananas is only for the bananas, but when you deliver the bananas, you still overpaid for the bad bananas as well.
Yeah.
So, would I have grounds here to demand for the 1% reduction in my delivery cost?
Yes. So could you claim back the delivery costs? Yes, you could claim back the delivery costs. The way that I imagine it would happen in real life would be that you would ask either for replacement to be sent, in which case they should ship it at their cost, or you would ask for the money back, and then as amount of that money back, you would see how much the exactly as you said, like pro rata, you would adjust the price there. So yeah, that would work. All the other losses, all the other costs, it would all kind of go back into that refund type of the overall package there. So this is why I said that all of these things kind of individually make a sense, but what we need to make, what you need to make, and what we can try to make together in any case is a flowchart. Like you really, all of these steps are simple, but I end up being confused here with the example I used for lecturing for so long. That means when the time is of the essence, like on the exam, what would help you would be to have the type of thing which I made, like question 1, is there a breach? How do I find out? If yes, question 2. So to structure it basically almost like a flowchart, an algorithm, through which you walk and which is going to help you answer these questions along the way. But to give you the specifics of what I have shared, actually I could do that from the other computer. So what I've shared with you now is the following. It's so under resources, you will find, well, first, a couple of videos which should help you with writing. There's a playlist on Panopto which you should be able to access and which has a couple of videos to just help you structure your work. So that is, I would recommend going through those. Then I'm going to give you a writing practice case. Sorry about that, which is going through these exact issues. It's from last year, but it is one which, for which I have grading kind of guidelines, which I will share with you. And then we're going to do a couple of other examples. But in any case, I will share both not as the assignment, but more of a practical case, right? Through which you will get a walkthrough of all of those rules. And the last thing there is the notes I have already shared. My recommendation for you specifically for today or for the rest of the week, you take a look at the writing guidance, you take a look at the document which I see I haven't shared, but it's going to pop up in assignments with previous samples. It's going to look as one of those, and which goes through the articles which we've gone through today. You try doing it on your own, and then you take a look at the guidance. But for the next couple of classes, this is basically what we are going to keep practicing. So you have basically only a couple of articles. The key, as you have seen here today, would be 8, 35. I don't remember the passage of risk is, I want to say 66 and 72. That is basically a vast majority of the things which we need to know and which are kind of essential to the exam. Once we have what was it, 79? I don't remember article numbers myself, but the content of it all is basically here. I know that this looks like a lot. Oh yeah, of course, I've forgotten. I will give you one video which summarizes the entirety of the CISG. It's a bit longer, but it walks through all of my presentations. I recommend taking some time to walk through it, and also from time to time to take the notes exactly like these. So I can share that with you pretty much immediately. Don't rely on it as a replacement for doing the work and for practicing, but I think it sums up all the lectures we've had on the CISG created recently. And the good news is we're basically done with the main rules. What now remains is to practice them. I think that on that note, unless you guys have questions regarding that, I will just share those resources with you and see you.
Let's go.